For all the twists and turns that we've taken so far, one thing has been consistent. Everything that we have played has been over the same basic harmony, and that's the dominant seventh chord, the classic sound of blues. Now we're going to change the harmony a little bit and see what happens when you have another chord quality other than dominant seventh. And the most common variation that you'll hear in blues, getting away from the dominant seventh, is minor. Very simple. If I'm in the key of A dominant 7, A minor. Now rock tends to be a minor keyed style, lots of songs in minor keys. So players that have grown up listening to rock, it's a natural gravitation toward that sound, and there's a benefit to the minor sound from a soloing standpoint, which is you don't have to make choices about the third, the minor third, the blue third, the major third. You know, how do I want to color it? Which way should it go? Is it happy or sadder? Once you get that minor chord in there, it's dark. It's going to stay dark, you know. So your solo is going to lean on that dark side, which means the minor. Now, it's still blues, and so even that minor third has that little twist slightly toward major. You can't take it too far because it gets the minor chord. If you really lean on that major third, it can sound a little bit disconcerting. So minor, but with just a little bit of a nudge is about as far as we need to go. And then the rest of it, minor pentatonic, of course, is tailor-made for that sound. The seventh. The blue note on the seventh is perfect. The flat 5. Now, we've got our color notes. The second, right? Yeah, the second sounds very nice over that one minor chord. It gives it a little bit of a kind of a mysterious quality, I guess I would call it. Now, the note that might cause a little bit of consternation is the sixth. We're in the key of A. There's the fifth, there's the seventh. Now, if I'm going to fill that in, should I fill it in with a minor sixth or a major sixth? Which one is going to sound right? And the answer is they both work in the sense that they can sound convincing musically, but the decision about which one to play is often contingent on what the next chord is. Now, if I'm in a minor key, I'm playing a minor 12-bar blues, more often than not, the 4 chord, and here we're in the key of A, the 4 chord would be D minor. So I look at the D minor chord and I say, how is that chord put together? Root, 5th, root, 3rd. Ah, the 3rd is F natural. That's the minor 6th. So instead of playing the 6th that I would play over a dominant chord, the major 6th, in a minor blues, if the 4 chord is minor, I'll play a minor 6th. Now, practically speaking, if you're not sure which is the right one, just avoid it. Because if you hit the wrong one, it can just throw you off and it won't sound right. But if you can hear it coming, then the 6 becomes a very effective note because it really adds a color. We talk about these color tones. That's a serious color right there. And when the 4 chord arrives, then that note also sounds very sweet because in respect to playing chord tones and sort of following the changes and so on, that becomes a target over the 4 chord. Now, what about the 5 chord? Well, as often as not in a minor blues, the 5 chord is dominant still. So you get 1 minor, 4 minor, 5 dominant, back to 1 minor. And that 5 dominant has that quality where it's sort of, it has the energy to push you to the next chord, and that's true for the minor chord just as much as it is the major chord, right? However, the 5 chord may be minor. And how do you know which one it's going to be? How do you know which is the 4 chord minor, or it could even be dominant, right? Right? The 5 chord could be minor or dominant. How do you know? It's the song. You listen to the song, you listen to the arrangement. Unlike standard 12-bar blues, this all dominant chords, minor chord songs are more like compositions. You know, they have their variations. And so you have to listen to the specific song and figure out the harmony. So minor 12-bar blues will have the same 3 chords, but the qualities of the chords are a little bit variable. Now, there are different ways that traditional sort of classic blues players have played minor blues. One of them is to combine minor tonality, the minor harmony, with a different kind of rhythm. Most famous example by far would be "The Thrill Is Gone" by B.B. King, where you've got to you got this kind of funky groove. It's not a traditional blues groove at all. Now, he took that song, "The Thrill Is Gone" was done many years before, and it had been done originally as a minor 12/8 groove. Like that, right? And B.B. took it and said, well, let's update it a little bit. Let's make it sound a little bit hipper, more modern. So he combined the same basic song, the lyrics and so forth, with other minor blues, like famous minor blues from the blues repertoire. You might combine the minor groove with a Latin groove. Now, we'll talk about Latin grooves later on. We'll talk about "The Thrill Is Gone," actually that groove and that sound, that feel later on. But for right now, we're going to stick closer to home, and we'll take the minor harmony and we'll pair it up with a shuffle, our old pal, the shuffle. And the best known example of that I could think of, a minor blues shuffle, is one of the biggest hit records of the early 1960s, and it was an instrumental, and it was called "Green Onions." And "Green Onions" was really based on an organ, Hammond organ melody. The group was Booker T and the MGs. Guitar player in that band was Steve Cropper, and it was this kind of a groove. Still a shuffle, but got very distinctly minor bass pattern. The organ pattern that was very catchy was that. Right? Now that song has been covered and recovered and recovered about 1 billion times, but it's still a classic and it's still a great model to use for how to approach a minor blues. We can come up with an alternate rhythm part that isn't the organ part. One way to play rhythm on a song like that would be to double the bass pattern. Or another really good way would be kind of play the same lick, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, and move it up an octave. So it's more like the mid-range parts, the riff chords and so forth that we've been using. Now when it goes to the 4 chord, still minor, just move the pattern up the neck. Now in the case of that song, the 5 chord is minor. So the same rhythm part will apply to each of the 3 chords. You don't have to change a thing, just move it up and down the neck. A part that I came up with too, this sort of you call it this like a combined part, where it's sort of like two parts in one. Check this out. Right, there I've got the chord, I've got the chick, I'm accenting the second beat along with the snare drum, and then I harmonize the bass pattern. Bass goes C to D, and I make it a double stop, and add that extra note on top. For D, that's not on the record, that's just a made-up part, but that's my way of sort of thinking, how can I create a rhythm guitar part that fits the mood of the song, follows the harmony, pays attention to the bass pattern and the form, and there it is. So that's just a kind of an invention, but I'll show you how to play that. Give you some notation. There's D and E. Now, Green Onions came out in 1963, I think it was, 62 or 63. It's kind of the dawn of the rock revolution. And you could say this was a bridge between more traditional blues and a more modern sound. It had some of those more modern elements to it in terms of the feel, the groove, and so on. So it's a shuffle, but it's kind of a hip, contemporary shuffle as opposed to the down-home, old-school shuffle. It's a lot of fun. Now, soloing-wise, it's just blues, but it's minor, so I have to now be careful about the third. Don't emphasize the major third. Watch out for that 4 chord. Now I know in this particular song it's minor, so there's my minor 6 that matches the minor third of D, and my 5 chord is minor as well, which just means I can stay in my key center and rage. So let me give you an example of a solo over this kind of progression, and we'll talk. Okay, here we go. Yeah, goes on and on and on and on. It's a lot of fun to play over that thing. So I was listening to it, I kind of picked up on the moodiness of it, the minor sound. It has that smoky, dark quality. I thought, what's smoky and dark? And yeah, the pedal tone, you know? Hybrid picking, you know, using all those different little techniques that developed, and not trying to force them in there, but as I learn them and I get them in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know, it just sounds like, yeah, that would be appropriate at that point. So I use the you know. I forget exactly what I played in there. Right, another application of the pedal tone idea. I think the second time around, I went up to the 4 chord in the 10th position, D minor, and I actually played the arpeggio, and then I played a lick based on D, and then I used that lick from a while back that I was talking about playing in E, and you know, Freddie King and Jimmy Rogers and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I said, steal that lick. Right? That way of getting from this area back down to that area following the chord. And then using a version of chicken picking, right? Not in the comical way, you know, but sort of to create the emphasis. So you get the idea. It's once you have all these techniques and sounds in your head and you sort of get them under your fingers, then you just sort of can pull them out and create an amazing variety of textures and colors. Now I'd like to hear you play over this thing, and I want you to just let your natural style come out. Don't feel like, oh, I should do this, or you know, I'll force the pedal tones in there, whatever, you know. I just want to hear you play the way that you feel is your strongest over this progression. My experience has been as a teacher that when I introduce a progression like this, a lot of students go, finally, something that I can relate to from my own background, you know. It isn't this like blues stuff from another planet, you know. This is really like a natural groove, and I hear those chords like second nature, and I can really be myself, you know. That's what I want you to do, is be yourself over these changes, and let me hear what you sound like, and then we'll talk after that. All right, have some fun.